Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a balanced rack, no duplicates, but with the J and the Y, probably no bingo. Now, a few floaters to consider, but none of them give me a bingo. I'm looking to play off the J and the Y, and in fact, if I played Joy, the rack lever right is pretty good. So I could play Joy here, in which case opponent could score off the J and the O. That scores 30 points. Alternatively, I could play here for just 4 fewer points and opponent can't really score off the J, and I'm just not providing as hot a spot as the other positioning did. Now, is there anything better than Joy? That's 26 points. I could play Jokey for 22. Would that be better? Opponent can play in row F. Well, I don't think there's a huge difference between those plays. And given that my rack lever is quite bingo-y, I think I'll go with this placement. Not good, except I have tripwire and twerpia through the I. But should that be blocked, I don't think I have an alternative bingo. Joy has closed down development of the top left of the board, but OK takes an A and an E after it, so the bottom left is available. And I could play right in that spot, for example. Just looking for any other candidate floaters or pairs of tiles which might provide a bingo, and I'm not seeing any. Opponent played his first move jolly quickly, taking a little longer with this one. U takes an A in front, so row F would be a way to score points without providing much for opponent. Certainly no floaters. Supposing tripwire is not blocked, which of the two bingos is preferable? Probably twerpia because it doesn't take a hook. And opponent blocks that spot, not really surprisingly. So, what to do? I'm certainly looking to play off the W and one of the R's. My E could go after ID, but it would be nice to retain the E if I can. My I can go after the G, but I've got nothing to go after ochre. Now P can go after yum. So I could play peer for 28 points. Peert for 29. Quite a good score. I am retaining the W, which is a little annoying, but I can't see a way of scoring anything decent with the W. If I played wept, I would be getting rid of the W, but I'd be retaining double R and scoring less. I am going with this. Wow, I pretty much draw all vowels, so this is an unbalanced rack. Yump takes an S at the end, but that's all. So the board's starting to look a little tight. The T of Piat allows plays in column 12 and row K. And I think Piat does take an S, not 100% sure about that. Now I'm quite glad to have the W, given my excess of vowels. High scoring tiles generally go well with vowels. At the least I could play something like woe or awi in row G. Awi would leave quite a good rack leave, but it would place a vowel above this double letter square, so row H would then become quite a hot spot. I'm not seeing anywhere else to play awi, or nowhere great. I could play it in rows I or K, hooking the T of Piet, but that can't be best, sticking an E in the middle of column 15. Unless opponent's got an S and plays in row K, I think he's pretty much forced to play around Piet and Ide. Now, do I have a play in column 12 going through this T? Well, I have water, but that's not great, leaving 3 vowels. So I really have almost nothing at the moment. Great, opponent does have an S and burns it for a fairly humble score, so I'm guessing he has another S and probably a duplicate of one of the other tiles as well. But what does his play do for me? I'm scuppered in terms of playing awi. Do I have a play? Well, I could play it, but I would be sticking an A in the middle of column 1, and since opponent has signalled that he's got an S, I don't particularly fancy that. Well, what about playing a wee here? This is, row H is quite hot, but if the opponent is sitting on a bingo, he's going to have to trash his rack to take advantage of that, and my rack leave goes quite well with the P. The score of 13 points is ridiculously poor. What am I missing? Let me just put this back. I'm struggling to believe that that is best. There are options, for example, Wade or we. They might score more, but then the rack leave is a lot worse. So I'm coming back again to the P to try and get some value from it. What about placing the O above it? No, not seeing anything there. What about playing woe? Well, keeping AREE. Let me see what this scores. 20 points. And this rack leave goes okay with the T of Piet. I'm just wondering if OWE is better. I don't think so. That takes a number of front hooks. I'm going with this. Great. I draw the Z and an S. I may not have a bingo, but this is a much nicer rack than the one I had just now. So I have Zia in row J and Ape. I have Zetas in column 12. There could be a bingo here. All the tiles look quite bingo-y apart from the Z, and there are quite a lot of Z bingos. Great, opponent doesn't bingo. Wow, if I had an O, I would have Zowie. It would be nice to get a big Z score without burning my S. And Zetas not only burns the S, but sets up opponent for tripling the Z in row H. I don't have any GZ plays, so I can't see any way of playing the Z in row N. I can play it here. I can play Z for 38 points and a good rack cleave. 48 for Zetas, so 10 more points, but burning the S, so I think Z is definitely better than Zetas. But is there something better than both? 13 minutes on my clock. I have Zaire on my rack, so I could play Zaires and Curies. I'm guessing opponent still has an S. I hope I'm not missing a bingo through this T, but it hasn't come to mind. Z takes an M in front, still one M to come. I am going with this. Wow, nice pickup. I draw a blank, and I have Urials and Uralis, which play in column 11. And Isolator through the T with the blank as an L. So I should be bingoing. And I may have a bingo in row N. Now, opponent has created a triple lane. Do I have such a play? I think I'm going to have to go through the alphabet here. I do have bingos in my back pockets. I'm just wondering if I have a non-triple bingo straight off. Not seeing one. So 12 minutes on my clock, 52 tiles in the bag. This rack plus a D. Not seen anything so far. And I'm looking for any D bingo. Still nothing. Wow, that looks like there could be something, but it's not coming to mind. That's very unlikely. As are these duplicates. Now that would be the OUS ending. No, so I'm not seeing anything in row O. No double lanes available. So should I play Isolator? Maybe. Well, I don't really want to stick an S out in the open. And Isolator doesn't. But it does take an S. It's just a matter of how long I spend looking for a better bingo. Well, if opponent has a 7-letter bingo ending in S, it's not even going to get doubled. I think I'm just going to go with this. Or am I? 10 minutes on my clock. I'm just wondering if a column 11 bingo making Curies would be better. I don't have anything with the blank as an M. Are there any other lanes I haven't considered? I'm sort of coming back to this D in case I've missed something. Well, what would it begin with? It would begin with a vowel, so AD, ID, very unlikely. OD, so Oda. Not seeing anything there. No. Isolator does get doubled. So what are the 7s with this rack? I think it's just Urials and Uralis, providing a ton of floaters and hot vowels, 71 points. $64. I'm going with the lower scoring play. I think it's less volatile. No, I'm not. I'm going with Uralis because there's this super hot spot in row O. So I'd quite like to balance the board with a hot spot at the top. And I've drawn well in terms of non-bingo-y tiles. I should be able to score off the F, W or X. I don't think I have anything in row O. But for example, I have Wex in column 12, so if opponent bingos in row O, I can come back with Wex, which was the plan behind playing Uralis. And opponent's going to struggle to play at the top without creating new opportunities. So the fact that I can't play at the bottom isn't critical. Piet has been a surprisingly dead play. No scores have been made off it since I made that play. I'm just wondering if Uralis takes a W in front. It certainly does if it's spelled O-U Uralis. I don't think it does, spelled double O. So where else do I need to consider? Let me consider this D in case I've overlooked something. I certainly can't reach the middle triple word square. And I can't see anything which gets any of my high scoring tiles on this double letter square. I'm quite intrigued by what opponents got on his rack. Piet's was a very bingo-y 5-letter set of tiles, so I thought he was keeping a couple of decent tiles, but no S has emerged since then, and there are 2 S's and 1 blank to come, so I suspect at least one of those is on opponent's rack, and Uralis has provided a ton of floaters. However, they're only available for this turn, because if opponent doesn't play up the top, I have Wex ready to come down. I wonder how critical the M will be for Z. I do have vowels for playing G if I wanted to take out that triple threat, but I think the D in second place is not hugely dangerous. It would be a different story if that were an E. Nine minutes on my clock, 12 on opponents. So, what alternatives do I have to Wex? I have fakes on my rack. Probably not pronounced like that. That doesn't play at the moment. So very little. My W can go in front of the O, but I can't see a 5-letter W play. I do have Foxy in row B, not as good as Wex, and it takes an R and an S, but it is an option. I'm really seeing nothing at the bottom of the board. Wow, great bingo for opponent. He does have the blank, and now he leads by 10 points. My Wex spot has been taken, as has Foxy. Do I have anything in column 8? Well, I'm not seeing anything which gets a high-scoring tile doubled. Gosh, that hasn't worked out well. I don't have to play the X immediately. So I could play wife, keeping quite a good 3-letter set. Only 22 points, that feels pretty lame. Still 2 S's to come. Ring Dove takes an S. And I think my X benefits from the play of wife, but look at this, opponent could score a lot in row E, and I do trail, so I feel there should be something better. What about playing Wex here? Nothing goes in front of XI, and I do have an F for going in front of EN, and I'm scoring 30 points. And XI means that I'm creating access to 2 triple word squares, and opponent can't take both. I am going with this. Not bad. Wow, close to fintech if that A were an E. But overall this looks quite balanced. I don't have anything with the D. Only 1 E to come. Wow, so remaining tiles pretty non-bingo-y. 3 U's to come and a V. So I have FAH above EN. I have China, top left. What else do I have? Nothing through this E. This E is pretty handy given that there's only 1 E to come. Handy for both of us, that is. But I don't have an 8 through it. Nice, only 10 points for opponent. All it takes nothing in front, so that's not a setup. And I have far, keeping quite a nice 4-letter set, and 45 points. And this rack leave goes well with the E of Ring Dove and the A of Urales. So far for 45. Well, I do have a bingo with the E, but it doesn't play. I have Canticle. I have nothing beginning with D. What about the A's of Urales and Orla? And I've done well to dodge the U's. Quite a low probability play if there were to be one with both C's. What about this E for Canticle? Yes, I currently have a bingo in column 3. Wow. I had overlooked that E as a bingo floater. Will opponent block it? He might. I'm not awash with candidate plays. What about column 12? Well, that's pretty hopeless because an E would be needed to go next to the R, and there's only one to come. Is there a bingo through this A? There could be. Well, it's not coming to mind. Opponent blocked Tripwire and Twerpia earlier. Is he now going to block Canticle? Well, if he does, it's not all over. I do have a lead of 56 points right now. And this D, has opponent blocked it? And he has. Brutal. Let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. Okay, well, that's that. I don't have enough A's for Fanatic. Only 18 points for opponent, that's good. 24 tiles to come, and only 6 minutes on my clock. So I can't tarry. What to do here? Remaining tiles not really worth fishing for. I do want to play off one of the C's. I'm just looking to see if there's a short play in row O. And I'm mainly interested in scoring. And in expediting the end of the game. I don't have a 7-letter play beginning with F. Just wondering if Canticle has an anagram which could play through the E of Ringdove, but it hasn't come to mind. I have got Tincal on my rack. Well, what about Catlin? 25 points. Yeah. And I think that was an okay score, and I was struggling to see anywhere else to score, and I was behind. Sorry, I was short on time, and the C covers this double letter square, so plays in column 1 aren't going to score very much, unless opponent manages to find a Q play down there, something like Coquet. My rack not great, but the pool wasn't great. I do have Odic in row O, which would be a decent score. And I have Conic in column 1. So that's good, especially when you're short on time. It's nice to have a couple of handy options available. Both of those plays retain the U, but since the Q is unplayed and there's only one U to come, that's not a terrible thing. I'm slightly worried by this floating E. But there's not a lot I can do about that. I can't score well using it, neither of us can. It's only really available for bingos. I have Cubic, which is better than Conic, and it does burn the U. But I'm not hanging on to the Q, hanging on to the U because of the unplayed Q. Is there anything better than Odic in row O? I feel this is close to a bingo with some floater, but it's not come to mind. And I'm just wondering if there's anything better than Cubic in column 1. Still, the A of Urali is available as a floater. Let me check the remaining vowels. 9 out of 25, so quite vowel dry. So it's good to have vowels on my rack. But that vowel dryness means that this A and this E are quite useful. I guess playing through the A would be a way of taking out both of those, but I'm not going to score very much by doing that. And at the moment, I'm thinking I should try and outrun my opponent. I do have a 60-point lead. 4 minutes on my clock, 18 tiles in the bag. Well, opponent burns a bunch of tiles. And I can play Odic for 30 to match his score. Great, I draw the S. Still one S to come. I dodge the Q, which may not be a good thing since there's a U out there. No bingos with the A or E. V, U and B, a pretty dreadful triplicate to have. I don't know of any extensions to Odic. And the board's suddenly tightening up a lot in terms of scoring opportunities, which is good, provided opponent doesn't bingo. Now, opponent did have the M for MZ, but didn't play it. I'm just wondering if now is the time to play through the A. Ern takes an E and an S. If there were more E's available, this would be quite a hot spot. Wow, good scoring for opponent. 4 minutes on his clock. 7 tiles in the bag. 5 vowels. What am I going to do? 4 minutes on my clock. I'd like to play off the B with the V. That may not be possible. I don't mind hanging on to the U because of the vowel shortage. What have I got? 3 minutes on my clock. Well, what about this? Vips. 18 points, which is an okay score, just. I'm taking out the E of Ring Dove as a floater. I'm not sure the S was massively useful. £24 slightly bigger score. Taking out more lanes. I'm going with this. Great, I draw the Q and I've got a ton of vowels. Opponent could bingo through the A, that would be pretty cruel because it's the only bingo floater available and I probably could have blocked it. I think probably I had Bavins available last turn in column 13, so I may have played a little hastily. If opponent doesn't bingo through that A right now, I am going to be taking it out with my Q, unless of course opponent opens a new bingo lane. Gosh, I should have played Bavins. That is irksome. And I lead by 50 points, so I may survive a bingo, but I may not. If opponent does bingo, he'll have 3 tiles on his rack, and they might be quite good scoring tiles like the B and the H. Now onto an E, I would have Aquiline, and through it I would have Quinny Ella. Opponent, if he doesn't have a bingo, may create a new bingo lane somewhere else, so my punishment for missing Bavins may yet come in a later move. Where can I play my Q on this board? Just 2 minutes on my clock. Well, I've got Quiner for quite a low score, but that's fine, provided there are no bingo lanes. And at the moment, Quiner will be extinguishing the last bingo lane. Where else can my Q play? Quite a low scoring game. 338 to me, 286 to opponent. That would certainly be boosted by a bingo. Great, he doesn't bingo. Now, has he got unblockable bingos in 2 spots? Let's have a look. Baronets. I'm looking at this A. What are the anagrams of baronets? Which doesn't play, fortunately. I think there is an anagram, or more than one. 2 minutes on my clock. baronets. Rebo ant doesn't take an S. Okay, so maybe there isn't. What about the H? Opponent's got Bretons on his rack, so he's got Bretons and Ruths, so I definitely have to play down the bottom regardless of this A. But do I have a play? Wow. H does not go well with this rack. The T's no good because I need to block Sorbent. Sorry, Bretons, it's anagram. 1 minute on my clock. Where are the options for blocking it? That doesn't do it. I'm thinking of Nihil. Breton still plays. I have no bingo through that H. What about a play down here? I don't have to play the Q immediately. I just have to block opponent's bingo. Oh, that's hopeless. That's hopeless. 39 seconds on my clock. I was thinking about preserving Quiner. "15 seconds on my clock. I'm going to go overtime. Ah, that was the play I was thinking of before I got distracted. Just TAI. An opponent may not need a bingo to win. He may have he may have a bingo if there's an anagram of baronets. Am I going to get stuck with the Q? I have Queener in column 13. I have QI in column 6. Okay. 33 for opponent. Chi. I don't think these scores have taken account of my 10-point penalty. Wow, it's all over. It's all over. And the final score, 351 for my opponent, 356 for me, a winning margin of 5 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Wow, that was the most brutal of end games. That was absolutely nail-biting stuff. So, here we go. Opponent to go first. And he played Kuri. And this was my rack. What did I do? I played Joy for 26 rather than 30. Well, there's a whole bunch of very similar plays there. Wow! Missed bingo for opponent. Tricky ones to see. Degamise and Digamise. Plays gamed, blocking my bingo. And I play Piet, and I like that. Now, opponent has Epeist. Doesn't play it. And plays Piet. So, he played Piet's keeping double E. Wow, okay. I think inference is often overrated in Scrabble. I inferred that my opponent had retained an S and he hadn't, so that was a pretty useless inference to draw. Now, this was my rack. And wow, Weeper, yeah, for 30 points. I didn't see that. And I agonised over this rack. U, playable K10. E-E-E-W. Wow, I like that. Takes out the S danger from Piet. So, whoa, not on this list, probably deservedly so. Just 20 points. Opponent's rack. Plays Gear. Now, N4. Razzie. That's not great, putting an E over a triple word square. So I like my play of Z for 38. Better rack leave as well. Opponent has the blank, but no vowels. Plays Weld. And, well, just a ton of bingos available here, all for very similar scores. And opponent bingos with Ring Dove, which was a great spot. And now he leads by 9 points. Senior, A8. Wow, that's nice through the N. 39 points. What do? I play Wex for 30. Yeah, and that has merit as well. And this was when opponent played Orla, sorting his rack out. And we're still super close. I play Far for 45, which gives me a good lead. And opponent plays Fat. Blocking Canticle. But did I have a bingo? No, I didn't. And I played Catlin, and I like that. Opponent's rack. Plays Conman. And now I lead by 30, and I'm on turn. And I play Odic for 30, so I have a good lead now, 60 points. I thought opponent could only catch me with a bingo. He plays Yod for 35, and this is where I have Bavins, and was annoyed with myself for not playing it. What is being suggested here? A14 Visa, opening up a bingo lane in column 15. I do not want to open up a bingo lane. So I think Vibs has merit, and I think Bavins has more, because at the moment there is only one bingo lane on this board. Well, there are two, the E of Ring Dove and the A of Rurales, and Bavins would have taken out both. Opponent's rack plays Ruth, and now I was in an agonising position. The bag was empty. I couldn't see a bingo through the A, but I could see a bingo in row N. So E9, Qualia, these are all losing plays. Let me see what Examiner 1 thinks is best. And opponent has Bretons and Sorbent on his rack, but just Bretons goes. And Vibs did block Sorbent in column 14. I played TAI in this spot. I was about to play it and I got distracted by the idea of playing Till, with the thought that I would then have an out of Quiner, and then ran overtime. Now 10M is what's being suggested is A. Wow, AIN. Interesting. Let me just get this right. AIN M10, sticking an N in the middle of row O. Opponent doesn't have a bingo. He could play Bonnet or Bonnets. But how does that N... I suppose AIN is keeping Q and I for Chi and Chi. I don't know quite why that's as good as it is. I played Tie. Let me just go back here. I played Tie. And let's see what Examiner 1 thinks is best for opponent. Does he have a win? Opponent did play Besought, which was a nice play. But does he have a winning play? He doesn't. Besought is best, and it doesn't win. And M6. Ah, of course I have chin as opposed to just chi. Fortunately, that didn't determine the final result. And the best opponent can do is chin. So I think that final winning margin should have been a little bit greater if I'd played chin first time, but in the heat of battle, mistakes are made. So what an epic game, and in particular, what an epic pre-end game and end game. Very difficult racks, very difficult choices to make, and very little time to make them in. So absolutely gripping stuff. Many thanks to my opponent for a great battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.